Do you hear the screaming too? I hear it every waking moment of my consciousness. Every day and every night, I'm tormented by the sounds of an ever-gnawing death, biting down and chewing, yet never swallowing, permanently tasting the flavor of its prey. The clasp of a jagged claw scraping across its soft skin, dragging its way towards the neck as if intent on painfully sawing it into two pieces. The true sound of horror. Even the serenity that sleep should bring is no escape. The sound bleeds itself into my dreams until everything I feel is in some way a nightmare. I was joyfully lost in the middle of an REM-induced fantasy, sailing the high skies in an impossibly fluid hot air balloon, crashing through the clouds like the waves of an ocean current. I muster the courage to tip my head over the edge of the carriage to see the ground that stretches worlds below, and the sounds of the splashing sky smacking into the sandy shores above surround my ears. But the tone shifts, and the mood of my weightless energy grows stale as the winds pick up to a dangerous speed. The sun turns dark, transitioning the bright blue sky into a crimson-red haze as I grip the rails of the carriage tight and listen to the blood-curdling screams echoing towards me from in the distance until it becomes so loud in my ears that the panic sends me tossing myself out of the carriage. I wake up shortly after to more realistic terror, where the screaming I hear is much more authentic, more difficult to dismiss as imaginary. The most innocent and simplistic scenarios my mind can conjure are always inevitably overrun with the howling screeches that in the distance swerves its way closer and closer, getting louder and louder in my direction. So sleep is no escape. Nothing is. Tuning it out has proven to be far more difficult than I'd initially thought it would be. It's incomparable to the aimless chatter of the woman talking on her phone in the bus seat next to you, or the low buzz of an air conditioner blowing through a loose shutter in the vent, or even the intolerable mouth smacking of the coworker eating a chewy food in the break room. All these things can be blocked internally if you simply choose to ignore them. But the screaming, it lives with you. You inhale deep, and it's all you hear above the sound of the air your mouth pulls inward. Your eyes shut as you hold the air in your lungs and feel it crawl through your whole body, burning like a slow-moving lightning bolt. Then you finally release it, and it intensifies in a chaotic harmony with the tone of your inner monologue. Sometimes, for a brief moment, the voice sounds like your own, but you know that's only the cruel persistence of its ever-screeching presence playing tricks on you. Yet, on occasion, you still catch yourself deep in wonder. Please tell me you hear it too. I can't be the only one. And more importantly, I can't hide the insanity it stirs inside me for much longer. I can't act normal while my head is practically caving in at the sound of an immeasurable horror that sits just inches away, threatening an imminent death that never approaches, yet is crippling all the same. As if in an endless loop of the exact instant your death is realized and tuned in to my personal private frequency. Maybe I truly am crazy, and the painful, trumpeting blows in my head are the brass in my brain. Maybe it's the voice of God, reaching out to me in the most abstract way he can muster, sending me a cry for help that I in some way am expected to intervene and resolve. Or worse, a siren song that's been sent to me as a form of ultimate punishment for the potential sins I've committed. I put my money on the latter and quickly dismiss any theories of intervention. Surely no God I'm aware of would ever allow such trauma to dwell within me. I fear this may be something that lies outside of God's sight. All I actually know for sure is that I'm getting restless. And restlessness can cause even the most morally acceptable people to do some extremely unappealing things. I've tried everything, and eventually, in a fit of sheer desperation, I wrapped my fingers around a tall screwdriver and forced it into the back of my nose by the palm of my hand. The adrenaline release was intoxicating and satisfying. I so suddenly hadn't a care in the world as the screaming dropped back behind the now vibratory ringing that pulsated along my eardrums. I felt dizzy and light, as if my skull turned to rubber and filled up with helium. It was the most honest relief I'd ever felt, as my eyes rolled into the back of my head and my neck went limp. No worries. No pain. No thought of any kind. And most importantly, no screaming. It wasn't long after that the ringing cleared from my head, and my consciousness was left empty, with no present sound to fill the open air. No sounds to plug the cavern I dug inside. Nothing to tickle the sensors in my ears newly devoid of use. No sounds of any kind to distract, to annoy, to torture. My hearing became vacant, dulling my senses completely, slipping into a casket of semi-conscious lethargy every day and every night. The screaming was torture. But I'm starting to believe that perhaps the silence is worse. My thoughts weren't even thoughts anymore, but rather a jumbled mush of nothingness and mental static. I carried on without aim, without focus, without purpose of any kind, not mindful enough to even comprehend the relief that sleep should bring, as both consciousness and subconsciousness blend together into an endless, droning charade of functioning without purpose. In my impossible dream state, stood atop a blank room filled with nothing. I could only begin to wonder. Is this the true torture? Is the screaming still audible in the distant silence? The thought overwhelms me in every way possible, and in a chorus of dread, I begin to scream.